We're getting these doses out the door right away to ensure vaccines get into arms as quickly as possible.
Nearly 4 million doses of the Johnson & Johnson vaccine getting packed up and shipped out across the country today. It is a third vaccine, hopefully in the arms of millions of Americans as soon as this week. With all of those doses on the trucks now, health officials hope more local providers will finally be able to get their hands on some. 25 News reporter Paige Ellenberger with more.
We begin with breaking news tonight. Investigators believe they found human remains belonging to a missing cadet from Texas A&M Galveston. Official identification has not been confirmed yet, but authorities believe the body belongs to Brandon Perlowski, who went missing earlier this week. Perlowski was last seen on Wednesday and was reported missing Thursday evening. Now, here's where things get a little bit interesting. As authorities searched for Perlowski, police also found the body of another student inside a dorm room. As of now, Galveston police say they don't believe the two students are connected. The cause of death for both students are still being investigated. We, of course, will continue tracking this story, bringing you the latest details right here on KRHD and online.
The countdown is coming to an end. Tomorrow is Election Day. A lot of huge races and issues on the ballot this year, but no doubt the most significant, who will be our commander-in-chief for the next 4 years? We've seen historic turnout during early voting here in the Lone Star State as 9.7 million Texans cast their ballot.
And tomorrow is expected to be just as big. As we all gear up for the big day, 25 News has teams all across Central Texas working to bring you the latest on all you need to know. We begin our team coverage with Joel Lopez live from McLennan County. Joel.
Fire crews are working on putting out a towering blaze at a Katy construction site that sparked early this morning. What an incredible scene. Now, officials say the apartment site caught fire at around 6:30 a.m. near the Katy Freeway and Grand Parkway. Katy fire crews called in support from the Houston Fire Department to help put out the flames. Officials say there are no injuries right now, but the fire is spreading to nearby buildings. Of course, this is a developing story, so stay tuned to KRHD.
The state of Texas at a standstill today as a historic winter storm blew through, forcing road closures, grounding airplanes, and causing millions of people to be without power. Thanks for joining us on your midday. I'm Garrett Hoddle. The winter blast taking a toll. Let's go ahead and send things right on over to meteorologist Jordan Evans for a look at your forecast. Jordan.
Yeah, good morning. Still 11 o'clock. We are, it feels like it's been forever tracking this historic cold, Garrett. You know, we were out in the parking lot earlier. You know, it's bitterly cold.
44, Station 40, Zone 30, mutual response for airplane crash.
A chaotic scene in an Alabama neighborhood, leaving 2 pilots dead. We have the details. And
give it up for Amazon for being here, for showing up and growing in this area.
And details on the new Amazon facility coming to Waco, why this comes as great news in a pandemic.
Well, if people are not wearing masks, then maybe we should be mandating it.
Plus, Dr. Anthony Fauci says masks should be mandated at the federal level. It's Saturday morning, and Good Morning Texas starts right now.
You miss him every day. You expect to come in and see him, he's not there. And it's still pretty tough.
Honoring a fallen deputy, how friends and loved ones are making sure the memory of Matt Jones is never forgotten.
I just felt like we were left out of a loop with the city.
Plus, growing pains in Temple, how the city is handling its growing population and why people are upset.
And it was a hot day across Central Texas with highs getting into the lower 90s, but that's going to pale into comparison of what heat we're going to see coming up on Sunday. I'll let you know how hot we get coming up in your forecast, but your 25 News starts right now.
Connecting Central Texas. This is 25 News Weekend.
Every day it's been difficult. He was our son. Every day it's just been a challenge.
Hearts are heavy tonight as family and friends remember a beloved Central Texas police officer. Thank you for joining us tonight. I'm Joel Lopez. It's been nearly 1 year since Fall County Deputy Matt Jones was killed in a tragic accident near Riesel. Now his friends and family are speaking up, making sure his memory is never forgotten. 25 News reporter Jack Allen explains.
Is 25 News.
For the very extensive application process, we're extremely grateful that our site was selected as one of the initial delivery sites.
Cities across Texas like Dallas, Houston, and Austin are getting the long-anticipated COVID-19 vaccine. The first shipment just made its way to Central Texas. Baylor Scott & White and Temple received their shipment of 3,900 doses earlier this morning and are already vaccinating their healthcare workers.
Tonight, 25 News reporter Leah McNeil joins us with the latest. And Leah, just how many nurses and doctors are we talking about here?
Well, Todd, I can't give you an exact number right now because today was only a half day of vaccinations. But what I can tell you is here at Baylor Scott & White and Temple, they do plan to vaccinate up to 300 healthcare professionals from this point forward.
Could not come at a better time. Cases are dropping rapidly in the United States. Now is the time to put the fire out.
A third vaccine could soon be hitting the front lines in the fight against COVID-19. Johnson & Johnson now asking the FDA for emergency use of its single-shot vaccine. That means the U.S. may soon have another tool to help fight the pandemic. Here's ABC's Mary Alice Parks.
Now we have a viewer question here. Barbara Ann Brown Phillips, she's a small business owner, and she asked via Facebook, why are 51% of bars the only businesses not allowed to be reopened? And she also goes on to say there's no scientific proof that COVID-19 spreads from her business.
Yeah, the only reason why that standard was used was because there were both epidemiologists as well as other doctors, as well as public health authorities, both here in Texas as well as with the CDC, who said that there actually was a spread in bar setting, and I can explain to you why that would be the case.
Connecting Central Texas. This is 25 News.
The countdown is coming to an end. Tomorrow is Election Day. A lot of huge races and issues on the ballot this year, but no doubt the most significant, who will be our commander-in-chief for the next 4 years? We've seen historic turnout during early voting here in the Lone Star State as 9.7 million Texans cast their ballot.
And tomorrow is expected to be just as big. As we all gear up for the big day, 25 News has teams all across Central Texas working to bring you the latest on all you need to know. We begin our team coverage with Joel Lopez live from McLennan County. Joel?
Like you guys said, 9.7 million people early voted here in the Lone Star State, which leaves about 43% of people expected to go to the polls tomorrow. Now, the minority groups are the highest turnout or have the highest expected turnout on record this year. According to research from the Pew Institute, a projected 32 million Hispanics will be eligible to vote, compared to 30 million Black and an estimated 11 million Asians, which adds up to about a third of all eligible voters, which is why organizations such as Wake Up Temple have been focusing their efforts on making the minority voices heard.
I'm not in the business of telling people who to vote for, but I really believe that it's time for us to wake up and do the research and be active in this process, because if we're not, then we're going to continue to see the same things that we've been seeing, and which unfortunately boils down to minorities not having their voice be heard or not being represented.
Wake Up Temple has held multiple voter registration events throughout the year and even created a mobile registration van to reach low-income communities who are without transportation and people with complicated work schedules. In total, in collaboration with other organizations, they were able to register roughly 7,000 voters here in Central Texas. Now, coming up at 6, you'll hear from a local Asian organization and Hispanic representatives on how they're helping people get to the polls tomorrow. Reporting live in Waco, Joel Lopez, 25 News.
Joel, thank you. Let's look back at the 2016 election. According to CNN survey, 61% of Latinos who voted did so for Hillary Clinton. Black voters supported her by about 84%. Asian voters came in at 72%. For President Trump in 2016, 26% of Latinos went for him, again based off this survey. Black voters came in at 11%, and Asian voters had a 26% vote for Trump.
More than 10 million voters have already casted their ballots during early voting. First-time voters will play a huge role in this year's election. 25 News reporter Abby Loring has more.
Voter turnout for the 2020 election has far exceeded expectations and is largely due to Americans stepping up to cast their ballots for the first time.
Abby, thank you. We saw a historic early voting season in Texas this election year, and the numbers are in. Across the entire state, 9.7 million Texans cast their ballot, surpassing all of 2016's turnout of 8.9 million. Texas has added 1.8 million voters this year with 16.9 million registered voters. while in 2016 there was 15.1 million. While over 57% voted, it falls short to the 2016 election with nearly 60%. Here in Central Texas and McLennan County, over 80,000 casted their ballots, or nearly 54% of registered voters. Nearly 47% voted in person and nearly 7% by mail. There are over 149,000 registered voters, which is over 13,000 more from 2016. In Bell County, nearly 98,000 people, or 45%, casted their votes. 40.1% voted in person, while 5.2% voted by mail. There are nearly 216,000 registered voters, which is over 29,000 more from 2016.
A rally of protesters in Houston today against drive-through voting. But now a federal judge says Texas Republicans don't have the legal standing to challenge drive-through voting there. A judge dismissing a legal effort to throw out 127,000 votes in Harris County that were done via drive-through. Those votes will now count.
Today is the final full day of campaigning, and both presidential candidates have one last shot to make their case to voters. One on the eve of the election, both candidates are zeroing in on battleground states. Joe Biden in Pennsylvania and Trump stomping in 4 states, including Pennsylvania. Some of the final polling shows Biden with a lead in the Keystone State, despite the race tightening.
You know, the good news, we're going to win anyway. We're going to shove it. We're going to win anyway.
Presidents don't determine who gets to vote. Voters determine who's going to be the president.
As for election night, experts say there's a likelihood a winner will not be declared due to the challenge of counting the record number of votes. Not only might this campaign season is breaking voting records, it may also be breaking spending records too. Dennis Turner investigates.
Let's face it, political campaigns, they run on cold, hard cash, pure and simple. In the past, a lot of that money came from huge donors, corporations, and so-called political action groups. Well, that's still the case, but the biggest growth in campaign spending this year came from, are you ready for this? Us, the little guys.
It's a beautiful weekend out there, a beautiful Monday. Let's get a check on our First Alert 25 forecast.
Chief Meteorologist Matt Hines is here with a look.
And it is looking very nice here across our area on this Monday evening, pre-election day. And
Matt, thank you. A possibility in this election could result in a tie. What would that look like? Well, we'll break it all down.
Plus, another hurricane gaining strength, this time in Central America. When will they stop? We'll have more after the break. And 25 News is your election authority. We'll be breaking down races and bringing you all of the coverage tomorrow, so make sure to tune in online and on air.